So this hopefully is going to be a quick insight to the topic of if it fits your macros slash flexible dieting. I've chucked it up on a few social media sites. I've got a few questions from people. I'm also going to give my take on it and how I use it with my clients and myself, and just my opinion on the topic in general. Right. So what is if it fits your macros? Um, Basically, this is a lifelong kind of lifestyle approach to your nutrition. Basically, there's no foods or no food restrictions, no food that you can't eat. It's basically just about incorporating foods that you like and that you want to eat into your daily calorie allowance while still working towards your goals. Should be fat loss or weight gain, health, whatever. Okay. It gives you some flexibility as such with your foods. If you're kind of the person who's out dining at weekends, say work related, business related, how to incorporate that into your daily nutrition um, while still going towards your fitness goal as such. Okay. With the flexible dieting approach, there are a few guidelines that I like to use with myself and my clients. I don't like to turn it into a free for all for food. I know there probably are some guys out there who pay no attention to calorie quality. Um, that's not how I go about it as such. Okay. So it's not all about Pop Tarts and pizzas and ice cream. Um, there is still a lot of clean food as such. Okay. I think you'll find also if you were to go down the route of pizza and ice cream and whatever you wanted, day in day out, I think you'd find it very hard to hit some of your targets in terms of like your protein, your healthy fat, and your fiber intake as such. Okay. Um, so with that, rule number one is the 80/20. Okay, so 80% of your calorie intake for that day will come from natural, unprocessed, clean foods as such. Okay. So with that, up until I train, and the same with most of my clients, um, they will have clean foods such so like your chicken, turkey, beef, lamb, duck, venison, eggs, fish, salmon, tuna, things like that, things high in fat, high in protein, along with lots of leafy veg, nuts, coconut oil, things like that. Okay, so your typical bodybuilder kind of clean foods, no real rubbish in there. Okay, after the train, then I will give them a 20% allowance with their calories to basically have whatever they want. I don't put any real restrictions on that, so it's entirely up to them. What they want to have. Sometimes they'll have me give out their meal plans, and I'll incorporate that into their diet plans as such for them if they're not really looking to be in full control of their macro split. Okay. Um, so when it comes to flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, it's basically open to anyone. I don't think there should be um, any restrictions on who can use it and who can't. It's something that you should be able to fit around um, your lifestyle. Okay, hence the long term sort of product with it. Okay, um, whenever it comes to your calories and your macros as such, your fats, your proteins, and your carbohydrates, it's entirely up to you and your goal on how you structure that. Okay, it is very individualized, so it would take me a long time to go through that kind of thing. It's something that needs to be you need to kind of sit down with somebody, do a few assessments on them in terms of their body weight, their fat, weight, their activity levels, things like that. There, it's all about getting a calorie allowance dependent on your goal. Okay. Um, so takeaway points from that there and on the flexible diet and such. there are no food restrictions as such. Okay, so if you have been on a previous diet before, a transformation kind of program, and they've give you a pretty rigid meal plan, um, and told you this is what to eat, not stay away from things like this and this and this. That's all well and good, but it it's not it's not long term. Okay, whenever you come off that kind of diet, you're going to go back to foods that you want to eat. Hence why a lot of people they'll get in pretty good shape on one of those programs, but after that they're sort of without the guidance of their trainer or their coach. They'll go on a week's binge pretty much um, after one of those programs, and um, it's very easy to gain body fat pretty quick whenever you've been dieting for a length of time and certain foods have been restricted. The whole idea behind the flexible dieting approach is it takes away that kind of food restriction. So there really shouldn't be any binge eating as such. If you're allowed to incorporate things that you like into your diet and you know how to do that in a pretty effective manner, then there really shouldn't be any unnecessary binging as such. When it comes to things like dining out and alcohol and cheat meals and such with flexible dieting, at the weekends you can, if you really desire, you can incorporate or you can bring things like that into your macros as such. I never really advise people to sacrifice food for alcohol, but if you have a planned outing as such at a weekend, a birthday or an event or something like that there, then you can allow for damage control, if you want to call it that there. So you basically keep a certain amount of calories. Say you diet on 1600 calories, you're a female, you diet on 1600 calories and you have an event on a Saturday night that you know is going to really push the boundaries in terms of food and alcohol. My advice would be to keep as much of that as you can for for that event. So if needs be, keep 500-600 calories, 2 meals throughout the day, 300 calories each approx. Then you have 1,000 calories to play with that night. So that can include 1 to 2 drinks and things that if you desire. And if you can keep some sort of self control on it, then I'm all for that rather than people sticking to their diets for 3 weeks. And they're out in a binge for a weekend and they're back on Monday morning and they're up and down like a yo-yo. I'd much rather my clients to incorporate that kind of thing into their lifestyle as such. Okay. Um, Again, whenever it comes to some people, they'll shout about the micronutrient side of things. Okay, so there's things like your vitamins, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, the such. Basically debating that if you're eating a lot of bad food as such, it's now impossible to get your daily micronutrient intake as such anyway. And I kind of agree with that also. So do if you're eating a lot of junk food day in day out, then it's going to be pretty hard to get things like vitamin C and D from that kind of food. So they do have a point there, but when it comes to the 80-20 rule, 80% of your food should be natural and unprocessed in my eyes. So there really is no issue if you do it like that. And plus, a lot of these things can now be supplemented. So it's not uncommon for a lot of people to supplement with vitamin B, C, D, zinc, magnesium. So when it comes down to the debate on the micronutrients, I really don't think there is an issue with flexible dieting and meeting your micronutrient targets for that day. Right, I've chucked out a few posts on social media and that there, and I've asked for a few questions on a few things. So I'm going to take some time to go through those. So the first one: how does nutrient timing factor in with flexible dieting? Although it's flexible, is it still important to time the likes of carb intake and things like that? In my eyes, yes. Nutrient timing's a pretty important thing for me. So what that really means is, should you program your proteins, your carbs, and your fats right around a certain time of day? It's normally really associated with around training times, programming or where to put your carbs around the workout window and stuff, things like fats and protein. So yes, nutrient timing is still important. So typically, I like to keep most of my carbs for post workout. Doesn't really matter what time of day I train at. Should it be late at night or early in the morning? I'll never really have a carb meal before I train. Okay. Whenever you're going to train, you're trying to set your body up to be a fat burning machine. Okay. So if you're going to ingest a heavy dosage, of course, before you train, your body's going to use that as a fuel source during your session. That's all well and good if your goal is say muscle gain or endurance, but if your goal is fat loss, then it's not really ideal. So it's not okay. So if your goal is fat loss, I like to keep my carbs mainly post workout. Things like fat and protein again. I do like my high fat, high protein approach, especially around breakfast and up to I train. All my meals um, will be heavily um, based on fats and protein. Okay, so hopefully that answers that one. Question two: with if efficient macros, is there a limit on food types, i.e., no KFC, and if not, is there a risk of getting bad nutrients such as trans fats? Um, Well, it comes down to things like KFC and McDonald's and Burger King. It's not really my kind of treat as such. I very, very rarely eat from places like that. Um, I would put a limit on that kind of food. I don't KFC or McDonald's once a week. I don't think there's a big deal with that. If you're eating say 5 meals a day, 5 6 meals a day over the course of a week, that's about 40 meals a week. If you want one of those to have be a KFC, then I don't really find any real big issue with that. There, at the end of the day, it's about consistency over the week, and if you got one real bad meal like that out of 45, then I wouldn't really break any sweat on it. Regarding the bad nutrients and trans fats as such, I think trans fats is one thing that a lot of people um, into their nutrition and things that will agree on. It is it's just something you just do not want in your diet. Trans fats are bad news. Basically, they can appear in a diet from industrial fat processing. So it takes like an unsaturated fat and it bubbles hydrogen ions through it, which produces a trans configuration. You'll normally find this kind of thing in vegetable oils and anything that's really cooked in that kind of thing. So trans fat can be linked to things like coronary heart disease and cancer. Can also increase liver cholesterol resynthesis and things like that. But your trans fat intake will have to be pretty high. So you need to be eating KFCs day on day to really have anything to worry about. Again, going back to the 80-20 rule, if you're keeping 80% of your food clean, then I don't really think you have much to worry about. I know my diet. The only time I'll ever have any kind of trans fat is if I'm having a pizza or something, and that's pretty much once a week. Every other day, I don't have any in my diet at all. I don't really want that in my diet. On most days, things like my treats might be just something like actually an extra bit of dark chocolate or a bit of honey or some extra oats. I'm not really sitting down every day just trying to make up my calories from pizza and KFC. So once a week, things like that once a week, I don't really think there's a big issue or much to worry about. Right, next question. What about the weight of macros on rest days? Should this be decreased due to the amount of calories being burnt as less? Yes. Normally on a rest day, I will decrease my overall calorie intake on for my clients. I'll normally reduce that by about 200 to 300 calories. That's due just to the lower energy output when you're not training. So you don't need just as much food. Regarding your macros on that day, I would decrease your carb intake. Some people argue on a rest day you don't really need any, and I kind of agree with that as well. But I don't think there's any issue with taking a small dosage of carbs at night before you go to bed. But regarding your macros, decrease your carb intake, and with decreasing your carbs, increase your fat intake for that day, and keep your protein roughly the same. Next question: is it okay to split your post-workout meals throughout the day, or is it better to keep it all together? This depends on a few things. One depends on the time of the day you're training. Um, Two depends on how many times a day you are training. Things you got there. So if you're training early in the day, say you train mid morning, then that suits your lifestyle and that's what you do. I would still consume your carbs after that training session. You don't have to, so you don't. But if you're looking to include some sort of treat as such, then 2 to 3 hours after your training session is probably the best time to do that. Glycogen replenishment occurs over a much longer period than say 1 to 2 hours after you train. So if you train early in the morning, you wish to leave your carbs that evening. There's no real issue with that there. Um, if you train say more in the evening, say you train 5 6 o'clock, and you want to split your carb macro intake across 2 meals, and then that's fine. So it is. Next question. I was wondering about frequency. Common sense applies. Don't be eating crap all day long. But would you say taking if it fits a macros approach to a single meal once a day, or 2 to 3 times a week? When does it become too much? Um, right. This is a pretty good question. I think this shows the kind of confusion that's out there with the flexible diet approach. As such, I say I don't apply the approach just to one meal. I'll apply it across the whole day and the week as such. Okay, um, so with the flexible approach, as I said, it does in my eyes it does include a lot of clean food. It's only really if you feel if it's necessary to indulge in a treat. Do you need to then look at the calorie and the macro content of that food? If you want to eat it, something that you think isn't clean, my advice would be just to make it work. If you've trained that day, filter it in after you post workout after you train, and there'll not be no real issue with things you got there. Um, Regarding when does it become a bit too much in terms of people eating crap day on day. Um, that's more the guys that are kind of totally neglecting the calorie quality of their food just to fit their numbers. My eyes they're idiots. I don't really agree with it. You can incorporate a treat a day. I don't really have any issue with that there, and you're still on your calorie allowance post workout. Um, then that should have zero impact on your fat loss. And from my experience, it pushes the boundaries pretty far sometimes. With my post workout meals and my carbs and stuff, and I've consistently lost fat that week. So I think it all still boils down to calories in, calories out. Okay. Um, Again, when it comes down to flexibility, post workout is the best time to have it. So for me, that'll vary day to day. Some days I'll have maybe cereal after a train, or sometimes it can be just as clean as normal as potatoes, oats, rice, things I got there. Even after a leg day, some days I'll have a burrito. Things I got there. Burrito's got it's about 900 calories, so it has. But when you've got about 3,500 calories to play with, you can normally get away with things you got there. It's just really being smart with your food choices and knowing when to incorporate things like that. Um, so, so in regards to your question, you can get away if you want with a bad meal every day. I know I've done it for a week. A crap post workout, just to experiment really, and I still lost. I think it was a pound and a half. So, regarding to the approach, again, I wouldn't stray too far away from the 80-20 rule. If you're 20% of your calories per day to have whatever you want, then I don't really think you've got any issue there. Right, next question. What's your view on pre-workout drinks and isotonic drinks? Would these need to be added to your intake? Yes, they would, especially things like isotonic drinks like Lucozade and Powerade and things like that. Some of those things can be pretty hefty on the calorie side of things. They're usually high in sugar. Again, best time post-workout. Next question. is it better to have smaller meals during the day rather than 2 or 3 big meals lumped together? It's a pretty good question. It again depends on your goal. If we're talking about fat loss, it doesn't really matter whether you have 2 meals or 8 meals, as long as your calorie and your macro intake is met at the end of the day. I don't really think there's any issue with how many meals you want to have. One point for guys, or maybe on the looking on the muscle building side of things, and maybe in an off season or something like that, consuming large amount of food, say 3, 4, 5, 6,000 calories a day, it's pretty hard to get that amount of food into 3 meals. 3 meals, 3 big meals can be pretty hefty on your digestion and stuff. So in that case, it's probably better to break it down into 6, 7 smaller meals. But the whole 6 meals a day thing and boosting metabolism is just a myth. Next question. Um, do you work out your dirty/treat calories first, then deduct and work out your macros? Um, when it comes to working out your macros, you've got to get a baseline calorie allowance for that day. That's the first thing I do for myself and for any of my clients. Um, that can be pretty easily done, and maybe on another day I'll do a video on how to calculate and your macros and how to calculate your calorie allowance and how to set it up and things like that. So the first thing I'll do is calculate my calorie allowance. At the minute, my percentages is roughly it's about 30-35% protein. My carbs is about 25%, and then the remainder is made up of my fats. That's for me at the minute. I'm not allowed to train for another 4 weeks, so I brought my carb intake well down and increased my fat intake. Regarding what how I incorporate my treat as such, I'll always do it at the end of the day. So if I have calories remaining after I've trained, I've plugged in everything that I've planned to have that day, and I've got 200 to 300 calories left. Sometimes it can be as simple as just increasing the volume of food without actually bringing in a treat. It's not every day that I feel I want um, something bad. Okay, so most days I'll just increase my clean source as such. Okay, some days I can be post workout meal can be anywhere up to maybe 600-700 grams of potatoes, 150-200 grams of rice. If I don't feel like having that much rice or potatoes, then I will substitute stuff like maybe a bit of honey and dark chocolate. But it depends entirely on the day and how I feel and stuff. If I don't really want a bad treat, I don't really take it. There's weeks I've went on without anything as bad as such. It doesn't really bother me. I think the whole if it fits your macros thing and you have to have a bad food every day is a load of rubbish. You can hit your macros with clean food. There's no real issue with that there at all. Right, next question. If you've been training with a clean diet, then begin flexible diet and start taking bad calories, surely this would have a negative effect, such as would you not kind of rebound if you start eating bad treats that you hadn't before? Two issues. The only people who rebound are the people who are eating ridiculous amount of calories after do a photo shoot, um, or a show prep or something like that there, and spend days on end binging on junk. It's probably more to do with the total excess calories rather than the actual food choice. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who have actually gained weight eating overeating on unclean food. At the end of the day, it still breaks down to calories in and calories out. So I wouldn't say the food choices has an effect on whether you're going to rebound or not. I think it's going to be whether you're in a surplus or a deficit with your calories as such. Right, next question. Is there any sort of negative impact of consistently every day having a small sugary carb treat on insulin and blood sugar levels rather than the classic cheat meal binge once a week because it is only raising these blood sugar levels once every 7 days? There are a few issues here. One depends on the time of day that you're going to have the sugary treat. As I've already explained, I take it post workout only. So, regarding the insulin and blood sugar levels, it doesn't really have as much of an effect as if it would if I was going to slam it maybe half an hour before trained. Taking post workout, your insulin sensitivity is much higher. Liver and muscle glucose uptake is much quicker, and carbohydrate resynthesis is prioritized. That's the best time to take it, basically. If you're going to take it outside the post workout window, such if you're going to take it early in the day before you train. If there's excess glucose is present in the liver and the muscles, are very uptake what they can. It's going to be stored as fat basically. The liver can store about 80 to 100 grams of glycogen before it's full, and the muscles can store anything from 3 to 600 grams. Again, that depends on somebody's size and their muscle mass, but that's a rough guideline. Anything over those limits, and your body's just going to be stored as fat. So it is. Um, with the whole insulin thing, obviously, like higher GI foods such as your sugars, cereals, and bread, they can raise blood sugar levels very quickly, leading to like large insulin spikes in blood sugar and a corresponding spike in blood insulin concentrations. Managing blood glucose levels and insulin is pretty important when it comes to health and body composition as such. But to me, if you're going to take that kind of sugar treat, just randomly during the day, and it's pretty silly. Like it's about being smart, with your food choices. At the end of the day, you want to be a fat burning machine, going into your training sessions pretty much regardless of your goals. So if you're going to start slamming in sugary treats here, there, and everywhere, then you're never really. The only thing you're going to get is diabetes. Take a post workout, no real issue. I think this is the final question. If I have my protein and fats locked in each day, and have about 800 calories from carbs to fill up, to fill my macros, can these be any carbs as long as it's about 800 calories? Depends on the time of the day. Post workout, then essentially yes, you can have whatever you want. 800 calories, about 200 grams of carbs roughly. It comes down again then to quality calories. From my point of view, I wouldn't really advise just slamming down 800 calories worth of junk. Again, we go back to our 80-20 rule. Unless your calorie intake is absolutely massive, 800 calories is going to be I'd say most people's 20% range. So my advice would be to allow for about 40 grams of a 200 gram carb intake to be bad as such. The remainder I would try and get from sort of natural, unprocessed sources. But if you really want to take 200 grams of carbs from bad sources, such as you're still under a calorie allowance, then there's not really going to be any issue. But I think there's a few other things to think about there. So it's entirely up to you. Obviously, under a calorie intake, you'll be fine, but try and stick to your 80-20 rule.